Good evening. This is Jaiko, and this is sensational. The season sisters showcast. I don't know why I'm singing tonight. I think it's just one of those days. So today we're going to talk about a very interesting and provocative topic. Should women be leaders? People really disagree around this. And tonight we are talking about four different domains. We are talking about in the home, in business, in the church, and in politics. Should women be leaders? A lot of women hold different positions on this. And my own situation, during my studies last year, I had to take a test, a bias test. And on this test, I discovered that I was biased to a woman staying home and taking care of the home and a man going to work. Even while I was taking this test, I was like, no, I don't want to believe this, but I could see where my answers were trending. But when I stopped and thought about it, even though I consider myself entrepreneurial, I consider myself capable, I saw my mother at home with me when I was growing up and my father going to work. And that happened from when I was very young and again at different times. And then, like through my growing up, and then again in high school. So I was like, well, maybe that's why. So I'm sharing that to say that there are reasons that we believe what we believe. You may have gotten your beliefs from church, you may have gotten your beliefs from your home life, as I did, but there are many reasons. But it's very important to understand where these feelings come from, because if you're a woman who wants to be entrepreneurial, if you have a bias against women leading, that might be holding you back. If you're a woman who has to lead her family or another entity out of necessity, even, you may be held back because you have that underlying belief. And then we get into different situations or discussions around politics, church, and things like that, or even professionally, where we may have to lead and we have men that don't listen to us. I've had that experience myself. So let's talk about this, how this impacts us. It's Women's History Month. Women have made a lot of traction in this country and in other countries. Right now, the top 3 posts in Namibia are held by women. We are seeing a lot of change. We've had our first female presidential candidate, our first woman vice president. That's as far as we've gone in this country. So we've seen strides being made. So let's have the conversation around it, because we've seen in all of these domains some fiery situations and conversations. So we're going to start at home. Should the woman take the lead at home? Is she capable? Who would like to share their thoughts around that? We have one hand. Military Mama, are you ready to share around this particular domain of the possibility of a woman leader?
Yes, I am.
All
Good
right.
evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Well, I guess, Lord, forgive me for this one, but I guess I would have to go a little bit against the Bible on this one, because I know what the Bible says about who should be the head of the household. So, God, please forgive me for this, but I think that men has just fouled it up. Honestly, I really do. That's just my personal opinion from what, things from what I've seen, from what I've experienced. I really, truly do think that women are better off at running the home and taking care of business. We can do a lot of stuff. We wear a lot of hats. You know what I mean? We get up, we can go to work, we come home, we can cook dinner, we can clean the house, we help the kids with their homework. We be intimate with our men. Like, we just have a lot of hats. And I just don't think men have the what's the word that I'm using? I don't think they really have the stamina to do what we do. We have children, we bear children. I really don't think that they just have the stamina to do what we do. So, like I said, Lord forgive me, but I just have to go against the Bible on this one. I really do think that women is really good at running the home, running, because when you really look behind the scenes, we are running the household. Period.
Wow. Thank you, Military Mama. I am going to hold my voice and I will let the next person come forward. Moving down the line, we're going to go to Stuck on My Balcony and then Boss C. Thank you for getting us started, Military Mama. You know, Military Mama's going to bring it. Yes, ma'am. Stuck on My Balcony. You may unmute and join the conversation.
I completely agree with Military Mama because men do not know what the heck they're doing. And there are some women that are single parents and they have to run the house regardless.
Wow. Okay, so we're hearing two people say that they believe that women are more capable. So do you believe that women should be the ones to do that, Stuck on My Balcony, or is it out of necessity? Or do you believe that is a woman's role to kind of wear those multiple hats? What do you think?
I guess it depends on your situation. Like in my situation with my husband being in and out of the picture, being that he was military, I had to step up and do a lot of things. So being in that role, it was like I was a single parent, but I wasn't. And now that he's out of the military, I still feel like I'm a single parent and I still do everything in the house. Plus, getting seasonal jobs and different things of that nature. I have to manage everybody's doctor's appointments, everybody's pills, everybody's phone calls, messages, laundry, dishes, because nobody wants to do it. And it's not just one person's job, it should be everybody's job. And
Wow.
that's the thing, is like some men are not competent enough to help out and step up. So we as women have to do it ourselves.
Wow. You Stuck on My Balcony couldn't have made it any plainer. Thank you so much, Stuck on My Balcony. Boss C.
So I'm going to come from the other side of the spectrum. Um, I think that men are supposed to be the head, but that does not mean that we're not their equal. So everyone has their specialty or the things that they're good at. And that's where in the Bible comes that the wife is the helpmate. And so if you're the one that's good with the finances and taking care of that part, and your husband is good with making these decisions, you just create roles, and it should be a partnership, not necessarily one is a lead. You should be equal. Where he falls that's where you come in and pick up the slack, and where you fall short, that's where he come in and pick up the slack.
Okay, so you're seeing more partnership as the vision, as
Yeah.
opposed to one person really taking the lead. All right. Thank you for that perspective. All right. I love this. I love this. Thank you so much. Alex, bringing you forward. Alex, you may unmute.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a little old fashioned and I do stick to the Bible a lot, but I do feel like the two things. First of all, it depends on the husband or the man that you have that is the head in your family. 'Cause some men are not capable of being the head of a family, and some are. I feel like the other lady was speaking, there's a difference in running the household. Usually women do a much better job of running the household. Anyway, I agree that most men could not ever run the household like a woman can. But as far as being the head of the household, according to the Bible, the man is supposed to be the head of the household. I really don't have a problem with a man being the head of the household if he is being a good head of the household, and if he listens and respects his wife. I don't have a problem with that, but he has to listen and respect me as his equal. But when you have two people, someone has to make them. Sometimes you don't always agree, so someone's going to have to make the main decision there. So, and I don't have if you have a good husband that you trust, I don't have a problem with him being the one who makes that main decision.
All right. Okay. So we're hearing partnership again, different roles, but letting the final word be the husband's, according to Alex. And it's very interesting that a lot of us are bringing up the Bible. And what I'm going to do is, some of you sisters want to grab a scripture, you may do so as the second round comes around. Okay.
I was like, I watch Joyce Meyer in the morning a lot, right? And a while ago, Joyce Meyer told this story about men and women and the man being the head of the household and so forth. And she told the story about how when a man says that he's going to go to bed, maybe someone have seen this as well. When the man was get up from the table, he said, "All right, honey, I'm going to bed," and he'll just get up and go to bed. And the woman will say, "Okay, I'm going to bed." But before the woman goes to bed, she'll check the children homework. She cleaned off the table. She makes sure the doors are locked. She washes the dishes. She put a load of laundry in, and then she goes to bed. But the man will just say, "Okay, honey, I'm going to bed," and he just go to bed. You get to you get what she's trying to say. Okay, he go to bed, so he just go to bed. But we got all these roles to do or all these chores to do before we even can get in the bed after we've worked all day. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was just kind of interesting to bring up. That's all.
That's a great example. Example. I really appreciate it. I know exactly what you're talking about, but in the men, to not say in the men's defense, but to bring forth the voice or the position of men, a lot of men traditionally, and this, if I'm to get all anthropological, if they were the ones going out in most civilizations hunting and bringing the food home, then we were the ones that were taking care of the home front for the rest of the meaning the children. And I believe that a lot of us are just wired like that. We see the home differently. We see the problem with the home. We see the order that we want the home to be in. We want to dot the I's and cross the T's in the home, whereas they've expended themselves a lot outside of the home. I do believe that there is something to that. Sister Girl is chiming in. Come on, Sister Girl. You may unmute.
Hey, good evening, ladies.
Okay.
I do just want to chime in briefly. I do believe strongly in the biblical perspective of it, but I'm not pretending that it has not been the case where there has been no man in the house and that the woman has had to, she's had to operate as the head. The situation has dictated that that's what she does. And women, we do things very well. And I believe it is military mama was basically saying, in her conversations is that the woman's shoulders we have the wherewithal to shoulder so many more things that we're so much more multidimensional than men are. Of course, I'm saying it as a woman, but nevertheless, we are because we can multitask and we can handle all the situations that do come. But it is biblical that in Ephesians 5 it talks about the order. But the thing that's most significant about it is that the scripture starts with Ephesians 21. It says, "Submit to one another." It says that first out of reverence for Christ. And I think that where Boss C is talking about is that there are places where you complement one another. We're like puzzle pieces and we fit together. That's why we are supposed to choose wisely when we go into a union. Our marriage, when we go into a marriage, it is supposed to be someone who you know that you can respect, someone who you know that you will be able to submit to, somebody who you feel that you can say, okay, I put my trust in you. The way the church trusts God, we have to put our trust. We're supposed to be able to put our trust in the man. So choose wisely is where we start. But I mean, we don't always know because they tricky. They had a whole bunch of stuff. They're able to hold up the facade for a good period of time. But all that to say, I do believe that there are circumstances where there is no choice, and it is what it is, and we are capable. But the design is that the man be the head, and that we have to be able to first, honestly, have a man who we can say will operate in the scripture where it says submit to one another out of reverence of Christ. So there are so it's not just cut and dry. but there are still even conditions. There's still things that we have to consider when we do move into the relationships biblically as well.
Yes, ma'am. So you said two things. One, a woman submitting to the husband. You also said submitting yourself one to the other. But you believe, just to be clear, but you believe the man is to be the head.
I
However,
do.
there's a level of him submitting or considering her as well. Am I saying that properly?
Yes, he is. He is because he has to choose wisely too. This is supposed to be his helpmeet, show enough.
That's
And
right.
so they're supposed to be able to complement one another. I did grow up in a situation where it was clear who the head of the household was, but it was also very clear who was in charge. I mean, it sounds twofold, but we knew who the boss was, but we knew who was running stuff. It's like the owner and a manager is really what it sets itself up as. The owner is the man, but the manager is the woman.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
yeah,
Owner and the manager. I like that. Like that. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Yaya has her hand raised. All right, come on through, Yaya.
All right. Blessings, everyone. I have to say I'm wholeheartedly in total agreement with Sister Girl. And I believe that those of us who have that kind of example before us, um, pa- uh, parents who are married from the beginning to the end of their lives, um, parents who don't necessarily have children outside of that marriage. I think that we're blessed in that. I think those of us who have that are blessed in that because we see what that does and how healthy that is. And it's an excellent example, but there are so many people today who don't have that. There are so many people who are um, giving of themselves to a man without marriage, without having that kind of commitment. And so not only are they not able to be a helpmeet to one man and have one man, but um but they're being tainted in a lot of ways because their experience is unhealthy in that way. So I think that, and I would agree that it's the healthiest and it's the best on behalf of family and legacy and all of those kinds of things, to know what it is to have that kind of commitment as an example so that you can take that on yourself and pass that on to your children. But it's not the case in these more recent years that everybody knows that. Now, I do believe that a woman is capable of being the head of a family, um, well, the home. I think that it feels good to be able to be the helpmeet to a man who is strong and healthy spiritually and in terms of providing and doing the things as the head of the house. But um, it's just unfortunate that that's not everyone's situation.
Wow, it is. It is. And so many people, thank you so much, Yaya. You're so many young people that is really aren't looking to get married like they were when we were coming along because of that. So, but that's another day. All right, we're going to go back to Boss C and then we're going to another question. All right, Boss C, yes.
So I just want to share. So one of my daughters is getting married, and one of the things I've seen in her journey in this is her age group, they're more intentional in dating and more intentional than I think that we were in my time, because I think we would overlook red flags.
Mm.
And so when you're overlooking those red flags, you're accepting that person to not be what you need them to be. And for her, she's in a relationship where she feels safe. And so she's like, whenever we travel or whatever we do, go somewhere, she's like, I turn my brain off and I just follow him because she feels safe and knows that he's going to leave. She's like, I'm living my soft girl era. My man got me. And so and that's how you have to think of it. If you're not safe or feel covered in that relationship, then that's not the relationship for you. So that's why that individual cannot be the head. But if you're in a relationship where you feel safe and you can turn your brain off, as she say, and live your soft girl era, then that's your God ordained man for you.
That's wonderful. Now, what if you have this God ordained man and there are periods of time where he may not be as
That's when you fill in the pieces. That's when you fill in the puzzle. That's when you step in as that helpmate.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that's got to be interesting sometime to pivot into that when that's not what you necessarily saw up front. But it's like now I have to pivot, but we have to pivot understanding, okay, I can't be bitter about this. I can't be nasty toward him. I just have to pivot right now. Then I'll be able to pivot back when he's okay. I think that's what throws some people off because they think, hey, this is how it's going to be all the time. But then he may lose a job or something may happen to make him adjust for a while, or he may not seem as strong. He may lose somebody close to him. We know how life's. And so hopefully as these things happen, we still can pivot and be kind and loving and supportive. Yeah, congratulations. That's so nice. And that's so nice that she is really embracing that. That's so beautiful. All right. All right. Now we're in chapter 2 now, ladies. What about in business? Can women lead in business? And should they? Are they as capable as men? Or are they not? What are our thoughts around that? I know I have had women bosses and men bosses that were both fantastic and both absolutely frightening. So I would say that there's good and bad that come from both. The times that I've had bosses that were women, I saw them lead with more of a community family approach, whereas the men may have been more team, corporate, organizational, and it was less relationship driven. That is what I have picked up over the years. Any other thoughts about that? Are there any? Okay, we got a boss lady. We got a few women here who are. Oh, I just went right past somebody. Sister girl, your thoughts? Did I? Oh, I hit Boss C. Well, Boss C, go ahead since I brought you up.
So women absolutely can lead in government in organizations because in the past women have been the backbone of education, community organizations, um, and leading people, and they also have emotional intelligence, and that's something that they're teaching more of in corporations is emotional intelligence, because a lot of leadership lack it and is needed when you're bringing in diverse teams and when you have to deal with crisis management. So absolutely women have been doing it for a very long time. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
So why do you think it is so much less likely for women to ascend to these higher heights of management in larger corporations and things like that? Why do you think that there's the quote unquote glass ceiling and just the disparity between what women and men get paid? Where do you think?
Because you have the good old boy network, and they're used to doing things the old way, and now they have no choice but to learn how to pivot and how to do things a little different. And so you're going to start seeing more and more females in these leading roles, leading CEOs and presidents of organizations, because they have the ability to shoulder more. They know how to multitask. They've been doing it all along, raising families, working, community advocacy, charitable organizations. So they know all aspects of business, and it's just putting it in, into, I don't know, a complete role. And so they're now moving more towards those leadership roles.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, that was a great insight. Haven't we seen women forever in education and community organization, things like that? Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very insightful. Will anyone else like to weigh in on that one? Business community. I know I have had a difficult time. Oh, I see you, military mom, and I'll come right to you. I've had a difficult time supervising men because a lot of times they did not want to listen to me. And this is when it came to producing plays or doing youth programs. A lot of times men were just like, I'm not going to listen to a woman. And outside of that environment, they were just some of the nicest guys. I've known them for a while, worked together, and everything was fine. But as soon as I became a superior, it was an instant problem. And they admitted it to me. It wasn't something that I'm just conjuring up. I actually asked, I'm like, what's going on? He was like, you know what? I'm realizing I don't like a woman to supervise me. And that was interesting and hurtful even at times. Okay, I'm going to get back over here to popping around. Military mama, yes. Coming to the stage.
Okay. Now I've seen the other side of that because working for the state government for years, a lot of women were in charge. And I've seen these women do some vindictive things to other women. They were jealous of some women on the job. And if they didn't like you, oh my God, they've made it extra, extra hard for you. So I've seen the other side of it. You know what I mean? Where
Oh,
I would
yes.
never want to work for a woman. That's just how bad it was. I would never want to work for a woman because I've seen what some women can be like. I mean, like they get too in their feelings. And, like I said, they were very vindictive and they talked a lot about each other. I mean, like, honestly, it was just horrific from what I've seen from the women whom I worked for. It got to the point to where I was just like, oh my God, I got to get out of here, but like I said, I've seen the other side of it to where I wouldn't myself personally, I would never want to work for a woman just because of what, I've seen in my years of working for the state government and how vindictive women can be and how they can get in their feelings and how jealous they can be of you and things like that. And these are the women in charge. And I've seen a lot of it over the years. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Unfortunately, when I said I've seen men and women do a good job and a bad job, the bad job that was done by the women, that was the nature of it. Unfortunately, it was
Mm-hmm.
very vindictive, a lot of personal little vendettas and things, and
Yeah.
it had nothing to do with work.
Yeah. Exactly. And when they don't like you, they just don't like you.
They just don't like. Wait a minute, I had that dress. You wore it first. Okay now.
Yeah.
People getting written up for that. So having the dress first, I've seen some things, and it's unfortunate. And I hope, military mama, that we grow in that area, that we lean into those strengths that Boss C was talking about, and really lean away from this catty, competitive person.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
even like, I want that job, you want that job. Like you see the guys jockeying for a position. We're like, I don't like you because it's the way. And I'm not saying this is across the board. I'm just saying
Mm-hmm.
this is what I have experienced. I hate to say it, but it is my truth.
Mm-hmm.
So much
Yeah.
military mama. Okay, we have, all right, Yaya. Come on up, Yaya.
I'm here. I think I'm a creative, so I've worked with a number of different in a number of different facilities and entities. Um, I've worked in school systems and in college and universities or community organizations, and there are people gonna be people. And now to say that, um, I think that women, like men, should be chosen for a position because of the way they perform at that type of job. I've found that there have been some really awesome women who take on a boss position, a lead a role, because of that emotional that that pinch of emotion that a man can't necessarily or won't, and not always, but they don't tend to offer. And then so there's sort of a balance that you have to have. Certainly that caddy thing needs to go out the window. I don't care who you are.
Yes.
But the I think that a woman who means well in terms of what she's there for, and she wants to service who she's there to service, in a way so that that job or that business is successful, then they have to be the kind of person who can take on criticism, whether they're a leader or not. If you're a leader, you have to also be able to trust that you have the people around you who are helping you to do what needs to be done, who can speak to you and let you know, and you're able to receive that information. You don't have to. I mean, you make the final decision as the boss. However, there has to be a way for, um, whether you're a man or a woman, for you to be able to see yourself in the mirror and make sure that what you're there to do is the priority. That the caddy thing is just, that person doesn't need to be there at all. You know, it's not necessary for people to have to suffer through that type of um contribution to whatever the situation is. I don't think that that is something that, um, when you're getting a check for something, you're not getting a check because you're going tit for tat with someone on something, you know, that that's that it has no worth in terms of what you're there for.
Exactly.
So,
That's not productive.
mhm,
We're not being
right, at no, that's it. So I'm just
not at
saying,
all counterproductive.
counterproductive. You're
For
just,
negative.
working against yourself.
Yes, ma'am. We are going to move into our next section, which may have to be another day all by itself, but I'm still going to get into it right now. I want some highlights now. Church. Should a woman lead in church? And I mean, be the pastor, be the head of the women's board, whatever. Well, she'd have to be the head of the women's board. Okay, scratch that one. But anyway, can a woman lead a church? Is a woman called to? We're going back to Stuck on My Balcony. All right. Yes, ma'am.
The answer is yes and no.
All right, let's hear it.
Yes, because as Christians, we are supposed to lead regardless, and we're supposed to spread the word of God. Now, there are positions for women in the church. We are to be part of the church, but as far as now, some people aren't gonna like this. I don't believe that a woman should be a pastor of the church. I have met some pastors of a church that have been women. I don't get anything out of their sermons. That's just personally my opinion. I've had better outcomes on learning the word from a man.
All right. Okay. Yes, you're getting some likes. You're getting some likes. Come on, Alex, may I bring you up? And then I'm jumping back to you, Bossy, because Alex is giving you some thumbs up.
I agree and don't agree.
Okay.
I agree that I do believe that the head of the church, I'm biblical again. I believe the head of the church, just like the head of the family, should be the man, the pastor. But I do believe that I've heard some fantastic female speakers, and I have no problem with a female being a speaker or a minister at a church, but being the head of the church, the pastor of the church, I feel like that should be the position of a man. That's biblical, because he's like the head of the household. He's the head of the church. That's where I feel. But as far as speaking, I feel like women can outspeak a man anytime. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I think they should be allowed to be meant to be assistants to the pastor, to speak at different occasions. But I just feel like the head of the church, actually the pastor of the church, I feel like it should be a man. That's just my opinion on that.
All right. All right. We have two. Will there be another? Speaking of church, will there be another? All right. Bossy, you had your, oh, yes, yes. Okay, here we go. Bossy, bringing you forward.
So I believe that women can lead in the church. Women have been leading. It's in the Bible. For example, Deborah, Judges 4-5. She was a judge, she was a prophet, she was a military leader. And so she did it all. So if that's what God's calling is for you, to lead his people and minister to them, only you know whether or not you were called. So I absolutely women can lead churches.
All right, we have a second opinion. And let's acknowledge that everybody's opinion here is well founded. No one is saying this is just how I feel. Even if you were, that is okay. But I just wanted to note that everyone here is coming from a perspective that they are citing as biblical and supporting. All right. Yes. Military mama.
Yeah, I think women can lead a church as well, even though I know it's not biblical, but I really do. And I think that sometimes, like in the world that we live in today, even though we do have to go according to the Bible, but sometimes in the world that we live in today, we got to get out of that old mindset. Lord, forgive me again. We just have to get out of that old mindset that women have certain positions in life, period, because we can do anything. Just give us the chance. We can be just as good as a man as running a church, as, running a household or whatever, or being a head, I should say, if just given the chance, because we're strong and we're strong minded, we're strong willed. You know what I mean? We are going to get the job done. I think that women are more level headed, than men. We're not quick. We don't make, most of us don't make rash decisions. Like, we'll sit and listen, and we try to find a solution. I don't think we are physically as strong as a man, but we are mentally as strong as a man. You know what I'm trying to say? I just think that we could do it. I don't want to say we need to all get out of that old mindset, because I do know it's biblical. However, in the days and times that we're living in today, we are the change. You know what I'm saying? We are the change. And women one day will rule. I truly believe that. It may not be in my lifetime, but one day women will definitely rule and run the world. I really do believe that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. We have some foresight going on. Songbirds about to come up. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say, in my experience and in my opinion, um, women can be leaders of the church, even pastors. Um, Sometimes I think that not everyone, but there are some men who are pastors, and then their wives are co-pastors. Um, and it's more that the wife, like, the man is not, you know what I'm saying, the man is not necessarily great uh, without the woman as you like. It's like she's doing she's doing all the stuff on the side when they're at home and saying, "Yo, you need to do it like this here, right here," you know, and really pushing them to make the decisions that are being made, you know, or where it's like the man is the pastor, but really the wife should be the one that's the pastor because she does the better job, if you will. And if we're not just talking about pastoring, leadership in the church, there's a lot of women who are leaders in the church. They're men, but sometimes the men just want to be, come on, let's go. You know, and they don't want to really get down and I don't want to say down and dirty, but they don't really want to get into the nitty gritty of things or give the time that's needed to really get the job done. So you're not going back and doing it again later.
Wow. And somebody put in the chat the proverbial behind every good strong man is a good woman. I paraphrase.
Yep.
But
indeed,
definitely seen that model in churches where that first lady is holding up the arms of her husband. And I've also seen somewhere the first lady may not have been necessarily fulfilling that task, but for the most part, when you see, especially if they're a pastor, co-pastor is fire. Co-pastor wife is fire. And my former assistant pastor used to always say, how come when there's a pastor and co-pastor, it's a husband and wife, woman always preaches better. That wasn't me. That was him. God rest his soul. I'm just saying. But we definitely have seen some powerful women standing behind these men of God in these pulpits. Absolutely, absolutely holding things together. The house of God, just like the house at home, just really holding it together. And of course, I'll take the example of my aunt, who I always admired so much. Just a strong pastor, very godly woman, very dedicated. And she mentored men who are still in ministry today. She never emasculated them. She never insulted them. She never talked over them. She raised them up to be men in the church, taught them in holiness, taught them in the word. And we see some standing today. And so I definitely have seen women in the church mentor and raise up men to be leaders. And the men are standing. No scandal to their names, none of the above. Okay, we're about to go to Pretty Lady. And then for the final question, oh, I'm sorry, Pretty Lady, then Yaya. Then our closing question. Yes, Pretty Lady. Pretty Lady, you're on. Okay. We will bring up Yaya.
I just have a question. I know we're talking about pastors, but I don't know of a woman who is bishop of a church. Is there that case?
There are definitely female bishops.
Because I wasn't sure of that.
There was only one that I actually remembered hearing, and that was, no, there were two. There was one in Delaware, but then there was also Bishop Coletta Vaughn. You all remember her? Are you familiar with her?
I remember that name.
Yes. I
Yes,
remember she came to our church one time, and when you talk about setting a thing straight, I've never seen anything like that in my life. I've never seen anything like that in my life. She She kept the house in order like a bishop is supposed to do. Like we were in there like like you get out.
Right.
Amen. Praise the Lord. We were like, ouch. Ooh, she's like, you, you don't belong here. You, obey him. You leave. I mean, boom, boom, boom. boom, sing a song, and walk. I swear to beans. I swear to beans, there was no fear, there was no wavering. So I've just seen some bad women in the church.
Yeah, I was just asking because I wasn't familiar with or I didn't have a memory of bishops in the church, but I do remember Coretta Vaughn, Bishop Vaughn.
They're
That's
definitely
right.
in different denominations and different conventions and things. There
Right.
are some different organizations that have female bishops. Indeed, that's just the one that I could name. All
Thank you, ma'am.
So this is a very controversial topic, as you, I'm sure you, as everybody knows. I know that's kind of the, but my opinion is I've heard people say that the main justification for female pastors is that when the Bible talks about qualifications for an elder and talks about them being men, um, that it was only written that way in the Bible because culturally at that time, men were super powerful and influential, and women did not have much power or agency in the society at all. And with that, I think it would be okay for a woman to be a pastor today since we don't live in that kind of culture anymore. I currently go to a non-denominational church and I love it. The pastor and his wife are both pastors of the church, and he acknowledges her as equal. And I think that when things were written, and I'm not saying, I don't think men, I don't think it's a man versus a woman, a man versus women. We are all human. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we can give. But I have heard powerful women in several organizations that I attend conferences and things that they do lead, and so I think to use the Bible as a reference, I think it's a good reference. I think God is my center and he's my strength and he's my refuge. However, you've got to remember when things were written, because you could ask the same question to this day. Do you feel that LGBTQ people are not accepted in the church or cannot lead? Or do you feel a child cannot lead? I've heard some children have more inspiration than some older folks, elders. So with that, that is my point. So I think it depends on the person. And I think it should be based on qualification. It should not be sexism. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we are going to go into our closing question, politics. We've come to the place where we have, as a matter of fact, I'm going to look it up. We always in this country have had male leaders. Only now we starting to see female governors. We had a female Secretary of State. We've had other secretaries. We've had a Condoleezza Rice. We've had a Hillary Clinton. We've had a Kamala Harris, who was a presidential candidate. I heard many people from different walks of life say that they just could not see a woman as the president. So I wanted to talk about that. Where are we with that on this call? Do we see a woman as a president or a more influential political leader or not? All right, hands are up. Military mama then stuck on my balcony. All right.
Isn't there a female president right now in Venezuela? Didn't is she? Is it her? Is it in? No, or is it Puerto Rico? Which one of them have the female president?
Mexico, definitely.
Okay.
We're going to look this up.
Yeah.
But as I spoke earlier, Namibia, the top posts are held by women.
Hmm. Yeah, I think. Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
I definitely think that women can do the job, but she would definitely need a man's backing. But I think a female could definitely do the job in politics, any job in politics, because just like the person who spoke before, it shouldn't be based on gender. It should strictly be based on, experience and what you can do. Yeah, most definitely.
So,
Because
according to, yes, ma'am. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at the end. So, at this point, current female presidents and heads of state: Barbados, Dominica, Georgia, Greece, Honduras, Iceland, India, Marshall Islands, Mexico, Moldova, Namibia, North Macedonia, Peru, Slovenia, Suriname, and Tanzania. Is there a new chancellor in Germany? The German chancellor was a woman as well. I don't know if that's a recent change. I'll have to look that up. But there are quite a few women heads of state. And I also find it interesting that in England, they have, in my understanding of what I've seen of their history, they don't treat the queens with any less power than the kings. Because Queen Elizabeth was chosen, far ahead of time. They knew that she was going to be the next in line. They prepared her to be the leader, and she was the queen for decades. Decades. And we saw just a solid woman of power for shoot, all my lifetime, just about, with Queen Elizabeth. So it's not a new idea. Even if we're speaking of the Bible, you had the Queen of Sheba, or Saba, as they said, who obviously became a love interest of Solomon. So there have been female leaders throughout. There have been at least two female pharaohs as well of Egypt. So at least one did actually steal her son's birthright, but we're not going to get into all of that. She was the pharaoh. So some of the greatest empires in the history of the world have been led by women as well. So just something to think about. Thank you so much, Military Mama. Stuck on my balcony. I am bringing you up. All right, there you are.
As far as president, I don't think so, because men from foreign countries do not respect women.
Mm.
And, you have to show that you are strong in leadership, very, very strong in leadership, and that you're not going to take people's crap. Because you can get a one over.
Wow. That's a very interesting point. There are certainly countries where women are not respected. Wow. So it's not necessarily that you believe that the woman is inept, but that she will not be received, or do you believe she's incapable?
I don't think she's incapable, but I don't think that they'd be taken seriously. You're not going to be received as well as a man would be. Now, other government positions, as far as like mayors and different things of that nature, women can lead in those roles depending on their capability, their knowledge, and I guess competency. I mean, you have to have some kind of stand for something and knowledge, but I mean, you can't just do it because you're going to do it. You have to be standing on a purpose. It's not just something to do when you're leading a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very different take. It may not be about competency, just people gonna work with you and respect you. Yes, boss C.
So, for here in the United States, I don't think we're at that place yet. It's not about not being capable. It's about the system, the culture, the history, um, um, the good old boy network, as you see how things are being run now. And because women are so strategic, they wouldn't want her in that role, because everything that we're currently experiencing, like, she'll be able to figure it out. There will be a strategy to figure out lowering costs of groceries, gas, all the issues that we have. But these issues are put in place so that they can accomplish whatever is on their agenda. And so by having a woman in that position, she's not going to play by their game. So it has to be someone that can be manipulated and wants the same thing that they want. And that's why we probably would never see a woman in that position.
Ooh. Oh, you ladies are deep. Just deep. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. I'm going to go to Pretty Lady, and then we're going to close on Military Mama. Let me make sure I'm not missing somebody's hand. Okay, no. Pretty Lady, then we're going to close on Military Mama.
Yes. The idea that women are suited only for domestic management and not for national leadership is a traditional gender stereotype that is increasingly being challenged because, for example, we're talking about it right now, by global evidence, social changes, and economic necessities of women's participation in all sectors. I mean, proponents, people in favor of women leadership often argue that complex multitasking, budgeting, crisis management. I mean, we have single women that are running households, same type of transferable skills, I would say, required to run a household are directly transferable to managing complex institutions and nations. The division of labor is unequal. I mean, we've already talked about that, so I'm not going to go into that. But there's cultural differences, and yeah, the United States. I mean, if you go back to your history, I mean, Shirley Chisholm was the first woman to run for the Democratic Party back in the 1972, and I mean, she won 151.25 delegate votes. I mean, now, yes, while she was unsuccessful, she opened doors for future women and minority candidates, per se, like
Yes.
Barack Obama. And so, in summary, while the traditional housewife role has historically been emphasized, that does not limit a woman's ability to lead in public or political atmospheres and environments. This separate right now, the China president is grooming his Harvard. Can I repeat that? Harvard. He sent her over to the United States to get an education. Harvard educated child, woman. She's a woman. His daughter's a woman, and prepping him. So yeah, I think the United States is behind the times. It's the good old boy. And the separation of these roles is largely a matter of historical and cultural norms rather than ability. Can a woman run a country? Yes.
What?
Is the United States ready? Obviously not. That's all I have to say.
Lay that out, Pretty Lady. Pretty Lady, lay that out. And that is where we will close. Well, we have heard some amazing, articulate, intelligent, caring, compassionate women speak this evening and listen to one another and to be honest with one another. And I have been enlightened. I've enjoyed hearing the different perspectives in every domain of a woman being a leader. But I think the overall consensus is that women are capable of doing so much: multitasking, managing, loving, and all of those wonderful things. And we still overall have come together to believe that we respect men as leaders. And hopefully, as we continue to talk and work together, work on ourselves and share with each other, we will all flourish and manage things better, accomplish all the great things at home and in the community, in the workplace, and in the world that we want, and still be able to love and push and support our men and live our soft girl life like Bossy's daughter. Everybody, thank you for watching. Please, we want to hear your comments. Click like, share, subscribe, and join our Facebook page because we'd love to have you join our conversation. All right, the information is below. Everybody, have a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining.